Tons of news today, including 4060 Ti performance and pricing rumors, leaks, lots of actual stuff. You want a $6,800 Nvidia GPU and more. However, let's start with this follow-up to a big story. So, Jay's 2 Cents did a video on this several days after I did, and this was spreading around a lot of other sites and YouTube channels and whatnot, which was about the AMD GPUs, which some people were reporting as were being killed by their drivers. And I was very careful not to make that claim. So this was coming from Chris Fix in Germany. He got a huge batch. He runs a repair shop for board level repair, and he's now done a follow-up video. So we now have more results of his actual testing. And so now we can actually report more on what's going on responsibly. Now, basically what happened in the previous story was he had a whole bunch of GPUs sent to him to fix. They were mostly AMD 6800 class and 6900 class GPUs. And many of them, something like 48 out of 61, if I remember the numbers off the top of my head, had actual cracked dies and were showing shorts in the same areas, all of that. And in his short video on the topic, he was just asking people for more information because the only correlation that he noticed between those GPUs were that they were all running the latest driver update. Now, he did not say it had to be caused by the driver update. He just said that was what he was guessing based on that being the correlation that he found between those GPUs. Now, what I said when I reported on this was that I did not think it would be caused by a driver update. I couldn't confirm that for sure, and that Chris Fix would be the only person who could do follow-up on this to get us more information. But I said that this did not sound like something that would be caused by a driver update, and the more obvious correlation was the fact that all of these were sent to the same repair shop in this location, and we were not seeing worldwide, reports of this same thing. So he now has this follow-up video where he goes through a whole bunch of testing of the actual cards, similar cards on the old driver versus the new driver, checking if the new driver could cause any kinds of the problems that he had been seeing. And the result was absolutely not. The drivers were not causing anything like what was happening on the broken cards that he saw, so he reached out to the people who sent him the cards to get more information. They did not all respond in time for the video, but he asked them the logical follow-up questions like, hey, why did you send this card to me instead of to like the AMD, warranty center, right? Oh, because they don't have the proof of purchase because they bought it used. Oh, where did you buy it? So all of them ended up having bought it recently from an online seller. So the much more obvious correlation is that somebody unloaded a batch of bad GPUs on the used market, and they worked at first for a couple of days, then they broke, and a bunch of them got sent to Chris Fix at his repair shop because they were purchased used. Now, this is what I said in my coverage of this, which was it's much more likely to be some kind of bad batch of GPUs that were all sent to this location, weren't under warranty, so, jumping to the driver conclusion seemed silly. Anyway, so basically, he's confirming that that does seem to actually be the case now that he's been able to gather more information from where they actually got these. Now, Chris Fix's new guess at what's going on here is that these GPUs were not stored properly, it sounded like if they get damp or whatever, in the storage and then you fire them up without drying them out, it can cause popping and issues on the PCB components and whatnot, which very much could be the case. I think what we can say, though, is whatever specifically caused it, I don't think we can 100% confirm, but what we can confirm is that this absolutely all signs point to it was a bad batch of GPUs that were not treated well. It sounds very likely that this would be a crypto mining farm unloading a huge batch. Now, this reminds me, to be clear, this is now me speculating again. So Chris Fix didn't bring this up, but I remember when a lot of the the crypto mining craze crashed down, values were going down, you were seeing images and video of crypto mining farms pressure washing their GPUs, because Chris Fix did mention that these GPUs seemed extremely clean, where if a normal user had been using them, they'd have more dust and whatnot. These seemed extremely clean. Well, like I said, there were images of crypto farms literally pressure washing GPUs that they were going to sell. So I can't confirm that that's what happened to these ones. But I will say that things like that were obviously much more likely than this being a driver issue, and that seems to now be confirmed. And can we all please take this as a lesson in the difference between correlation and causation? And I also want to make sure I'm clear that I am not criticizing Chris Fix himself. In his video, he never said, original video, he never said it was the drivers. He said that that was the only correlation in his information he had at the time from the people who sent them to him, was that they all seemed to be on the latest drivers, and he was asking people for more information. It's a whole bunch of places running headlines that said AMD drivers are killing their GPUs, that were taking that a little less responsibly. To be clear, when I did a story on it, I said, are AMD GPUs dying? And then I reported the facts and then said that, is it caused by the drivers? I couldn't confirm that, but I said that my gut feeling was absolutely not. That was a correlation, not a causation, and that when we dig into it further, which only Chris Fix could do, and he did, that we would likely see a different cause, which we did. Anyway, let's move on with the story. So, how about the RTX 4060 Ti? In my last news video, we talked about the specs leak from Copite 7 Kimi, which looked a little bit underwhelming. Now, given the underwhelming specs, the saving grace for this card could be, well, does it still perform well given the specs, and how much would it cost? Well, in a follow-up to this tweet, somebody actually just flat out asked, any performance data, or is it too early? Copite replies, it equals an RTX 3070. Okay. Well, first of all, let's say that an RTX 3070, you know what, let's actually just pop over to Tech Power Up real quick. Let's go to their GPU database. GPU database, let's go with the 3060 Ti. Sorry, I didn't get this browser tab ahead of time because I didn't think I'd do it this way. I was going to edit in some side-by-side footage for me, but I don't think I'm going to have time today. Okay, so a 3060 Ti, if you set that as the baseline 100%, the 3070 is maybe 17% faster according to Tech Power Up. Now, depending on which game you're running, this can change, whatever. But the point is, it's not even 20% faster. So if this is correct, then what we would be expecting is only a 15 to 20% performance increase over the 3060 Ti. And the 3060 Ti cost $400 MSRP, and you can actually buy them for that price right now. I have been able to for a while, but how much will it cost? Now, I'm going to be honest and say I don't think this is going to be the best source here. This is My Drivers, which is a Chinese site, and they're reporting a $500 value here. Now, I'm relying on a bit of the translation here from this videocards.com article saying that My Drivers article was saying that their sources, whoever they are, claim that the GeForce 4060 Ti will cost less than $500. Now, less than is not the same thing as 500, but $499 is less than 500, right? Which was the MSRP of the 3070. If this came out at $500 and just performed the same as a 3070, but a little more power efficient and with frame generation, that's going to be a huge disappointment. However, huge disappointments in price to performance does seem to be the name of the game for the RTX 4000 series. Now, if it did come out at $400 like the 4060 Ti, then the fact that it is a bit faster at about the same price with better power efficiency and DLSS 3 frame generation and the AV1 encodes, let me be clear here, I still wouldn't be blown away by the generational uplift there, but I will say that the 3060 Ti at $400 did offer some of the best price to performance of the 3000 series, and so, that would be cool. I have a feeling that it'll be somewhere in the $450 to $500 range for the 4060 Ti. Maybe we'll, but to be clear, now that's just me speculating. Because I mean, where are we at here? We can look at the pricing differences here. Also, you know, we have the rumored performance specs and whatnot here that I reported on my last video. But basically, you've already got the 4070 Ti, right? Okay. And to be clear here, I had said this in my last video, but the 4070 Ti here, obviously we have real specs. The 3060 Ti, we have real specs. The 4070 and the 4060 Ti, these are rumored specs, and these are not at all confirmed by Nvidia or anything, so this could be completely wrong. But what we're getting at here is we do know the 4070 Ti costs $800, and if there's a 4070 Ti, there's definitely going to be a 4070, so that would be probably $600 to $700, right? If the 4070 Ti is $800, then maybe we'd get it at $600. I don't think we'd see a 4070 at $500. So I'm guessing $600 to $700 for the 4070. So where does that leave us for the 4060 Ti? $500 to $600, unfortunately, sounds like something we could see. However, you know, I think $500 sounds more realistic to what Nvidia could try to charge for these things. And again, that would be a $100 jump from the 3060 Ti. Anyway, we'll have to follow up on that, but you want to see a real expensive GPU. How about Nvidia's RTX 6000 Ada workstation graphics cards? They are finally up there with their official pricing, hitting retail for $6,800. Now, to be clear, these do come with 48 gigabytes of memory, and these are workstation GPUs. These are not designed for gaming, with over 18,000 cores. If we scroll down here, we can get a few, you know, pictures if you're interested, but it's definitely this, you know, workstation style designs, all of that. And they are definitely listed by Nvidia at these pricing. Now, the naming scheme of this is really annoying, okay? Because they're still calling it the RTX 6000, they're just now calling it the Ada generation, which, I mean, I guess that's what it is. It is the Ada generation of this, but they already had the RTX A6000, so that was the A6000. Now this is the 6000 Ada. Guys, that is very poorly named, but I hope anyone spending almost $7,000 on a graphics card does actually research carefully what it is they're buying. But anyway, these have huge amounts of performance and specs. It has 11% more cores than an RTX 4090, but it has, like I said, double the double the VRAM, all of that. But again, these are workstation cards. Now, if you want to plug one in with a 90-degree power connector, how about this? There's a post getting some traction on Reddit where somebody bought a 90-degree power adapter for their 4000 series GPU plug. And a lot of people have been waiting on the Cable Mods version, which doesn't seem to be out yet. This person's saying they bought it from Mod DIY. Now, I do not want to endorse this product as being reliable or whatever. I know nothing about it. I have not tested it myself, but there will be a link in the description if you're interested. It does look like it's $30. Anyway, so yeah, you got your 90-degree connector. It terminates in the 4 power plugs. Here's the original one supplied by Nvidia. And then here's your 90-degree, which allows you to then, right, not have this big arc in your build. Now, the one thing I will say that I would prefer from this is I would like it if it went into a single cord for longer, and then it branched out nearer to the power connector. I think that would look nicer in the build. But anyway, because right, like here you're already seeing all of these branching out here. I think if this was a single cord, all stuck together further out until you actually reach the power supply, yeah, I just think that would look nicer. But anyway, these are out now. I think people have been interested, but like I said, I can't speak to this brand. I haven't used them myself. Maybe some of you guys know in the comment section, let me know. Hey, anyway, you know how last gen on the 12 series, you could overclock the non-K chips from Intel using B-clock overclocking if you had the right motherboard? Well, according to Tom's Hardware, you can't do that anymore on the 13th gen non-K chips. They tried it out, and basically it's not that Intel did something to specifically block it, it's that Intel just didn't make the mistake they did last time, which was accidentally basically give motherboard makers access to some code that would allow them to allow their motherboards to do that, and they didn't do that with the 13th gen. So if you were hoping to B-clock, overclock your non-K chip on the compatible motherboard, that does not appear like it's going to be a thing that you can do. No, there's rumors coming from IT Home, and I'm finding them reported by videocards.com, that Nvidia will be abandoning its MX line of entry-level discrete GPUs for laptops, basically because the 3050 is already going down to an extremely low power budget. And if you go any lower in power budget than that, you know, iGPUs and APUs just might already be, you know, just make more sense than a discrete GPU at that point. So we might not see the MX line of low-end laptop GPUs in the future. We'll see. Now, this was an interesting thing from Level 1 Tech. So to be clear, these aren't out yet, but turn a B650 into an X670 with this one weird trick. So basically, here's a videocards.com article summarizing a bit of it. So if you took the cheaper B650 motherboard, ASRock sent Level 1 Tech an expansion card, which basically adds in the second chipset that the X670 boards have to basically turn your B650 into having the capabilities of an X670, which is really cool. So I wanted to report on it, but to be clear, while this is a neat thing that they're testing out, these are not available for sale. These are not available to the general public. This was just something that he got to test out from ASRock. And to be clear, these only were compatible on ASRock boards. So if they do come out, don't expect this to be a thing from everybody. But I thought it was a cool thing. I'd like to see that be a real product people could buy. Anyway, the GeForce NOW service has now launched its 4080 SuperPod rollout. Now, this says begins today, but this article was from like 2 days ago. But anyway, this allows HDR and ultra-wide support along with the RTX 4080 class subscription, which supposedly gives you access to RTX 4080 performance along with DLSS 3 and compatible games through their cloud streaming. So to be clear, that GeForce NOW is a cloud streaming service. Now, I was curious if the 4080 class tier would actually give you 4080 class performance. And I was checking if anybody had researched this, and hardware, because I was actually considering trying to do a video on it myself, but it looks like Hardware Lux has already gathered some data on this. Now, while you can't obviously measure the performance of the stream you're getting through any kind of normal hardware monitoring, there are games that you can stream that just have built-in benchmark tools that report the frame rate you're getting, and then you could run that on a real 4080 and compare. Well, Hardware Lux has done that, and they're seeing that the 4080, that at least in the games that they tested that had the built-in benchmark tools, which were Cyberpunk, and then it's not just Cyberpunk. They also had Shadow of the Tomb Raider and a couple other things going on here. But anyway, the basic idea was it was not giving 4080 class performance. Now, there's some possibilities that could be going on there because the CPU that's going on in these data center situations is, you know, games like Cyberpunk can be easily CPU limited, especially at 1080p. And do notice that the real 4080 versus the GeForce NOW 4080 are further apart at 1080p than they were at 1440p. It was a bit closer. And then at 4K, it's again a bit closer. Well, actually, no, wait, did that fall a little bit further behind? So maybe that doesn't completely explain it, although I'm sure there's some variance in what you're getting on the live stream. So I'm just saying that there's some, you know, you can't be perfect with the methodology of this testing. But overall, the evidence points to the 4080 subscription tier is not giving you the same level of performance, even regardless of just the image quality and latency from streaming it, that a real 4080 does. And it's very clearly not a real 4080. It's a data center GPU that's then, you know, being labeled 4080 performance. Anyway, so interesting stuff. Click the link to the real article if you want all their info. I don't want to just like report everything that they did. They did test some more games, but overall, the 4080 class tier did not seem to be giving actual 4080 class performance. Now, in my last video, I did mention that some MSI motherboards, a security researcher had said that their secure boot had been set to always execute code, which kind of defeats the purpose of the secure boot. Anyway, I didn't have a lot of time to get into that story in that last video. Here, I'm basically just going to say that in that last video, I said that, well, honestly, though, being set to always execute can help. You know, for some people, that would just be helpful because then it's not going to cause you as much compatibility issues. MSI has responded to this this story, and I'm going to shrink myself out of the way. And they're basically saying, MSI implemented the secure boot mechanism in our motherboard products by following the design guidance defined by Microsoft and AMI before the launch of Windows 11. We preemptively set secure boot as enabled and to always execute as the default setting to offer a user-friendly environment that allows multiple end users flexibility to build their PC systems with thousands or more of components that included their built-in option, ROM, including OS images, blah, blah, blah. So basically they said that this was on purpose to help the help mitigate compatibility issues for the end user. However, they did say that users who are highly concerned about security could always set it to deny execute in their options manually. But in response to the report of security concerns with the preset BIOS settings, MSI will be rolling out new BIOS files for our motherboards with deny execute as the default setting for higher security levels. And MSI will also keep a fully functional secure boot mechanism in the BIOS for end users so that they can modify it according to their needs. Anyway, so it is what I thought, which was basically this was an intentional thing, not really a security issue. And for a lot of end users who aren't super concerned about the secure boot security stuff, it'd just be easier to have compatibility than to have it set to deny execute. Anyway, I hope all of you have an excellent day.